What is an elf friend? In the Lord of the Rings, this is a term that is thrown around to describe some of the main characters that we know and love. Are they not all friendly with the elves, or is there like something special that they need to do? That is the subject of today's video. Hello everybody, and welcome to the channel. This is Gone with Gandalf, and every single Friday I do these lore videos. That's kind of it. The term elf friend then first appears in the Legendarium in the Silmarillion, the chapter of the coming of men into the West. Men came into Beleriand some 300 years into the First Age, and whilst first they were seen as a bit of an odd folk by the elves, the Noldor saw worth in them, or enough so that they could, invite them to join them in the war against Morgoth. These men, to do so, they were of three houses and were henceforth known as the Edain, and are therefore separated in the eyes of the elves to the rest of their race. It is important to say that whilst it may seem like many, the majority of the Mannish population never even entered Beleriand, and so most of them are not elf friends. However, by taking up arms against Morgoth and settling in the lands of the perilous north, they were given respect for their loyalty, such that they were all named elf friends. There were some figures that would rise to become distinguished in this friendship and be remembered even thousands of years after, for their deeds are such that they are mentioned even during the Council of Elrond. So you've got Hador, Hurin, just to name a couple. We'll get onto that a little bit later on. But what benefit is there in having such good buddies? Well, at the time, the Eldar were incredibly powerful, particularly those of Noldorin origin. They built their defences and they have stood for hundreds of years into the First Age, and they have never suffered defeat yet. The light of the Marn shines in their faces, and great knowledge was theirs, which in turn was shared with some of the Edain, so that they far surpassed the rest of the race of men, thanks to the security and teachings of their allies. That said, just because the Edain were elf friends, it did not give them a free pass for all elves. There was no hard and fast rule, I suppose, like, the UK and USA have, they're said to have a special relationship, but you still have to show your passport and apply for a visa to get in. The kingdom of Doriath was off limits to all men. This was elf friend or foe, and by decree of its king Thingol. He was the man of the house in name, but he did not hold the keys to the front door, so this would not prove to be wholly true. Enter our first special example. Beren Camion, the One-Handed, was a man of the House of Beor and would be one of the greatest of elf friends for retrieving a Silmaril from the crown of Morgoth himself, in return for the hand of Luthien, daughter of Thingol. Despite being Camion, he was given more than just a single hand by Luthien, Finrod, and the goodest boy. But this cemented the first union of elves and men, and softened the king's heart towards the Edain thereafter. Turin was one such man. He was the bearer of the dragon helm of Dor-Lomin, and he was a kinsman of Beren. He was fostered in Doriath by the elves after the enslavement of his lands following the Nir-Naeth Arnodiad, a disastrous battle for the elves where the Easterling men betrayed the eastern flank of this offensive. Turin, he helped ward his new home from orcish attacks from the north, and whilst he is named a great elf friend, being named by Elrond, he was also a great pain to many. He tragically killed his best friend, Cuthalion, caused the defeat and destruction of Nargothrond, and after going full Anakin, to try and find his mother at his old home, the further persecution of his people in Dor-Lomin. His redeeming quality is that he most apparently, he had the right intentions, and he was able to slay the father of all dragons, Glaurung, and in doing so, saving the forest of Brethil. But there were several heroes during the First Age, but there were Elfriends that came after that time too. The Numenorians began as such, being the offspring of the Edain, and as yet they were not corrupted by their yearning for immortality. Only the Elendili would remain, however. This just means Elfriends, but it was the name of the faction of the faithful of Numenor, which was led by the Lord of Andúnie. The last lord was Elendil. We of course probably, and you guys know who that is. A fitting name which meant either Elfriend or Star Lover. Depends if you look at Quenya or Sindarin. Except this star boy didn't earn his title over a single weekend, no. He was one of the greatest of all Elfriends, for his friendship with Iranian Gil-galad forged the last alliance of elves and men, which overthrew Sauron and crippled the forces of the Dark Lord. It may seem as though that there were many Elfriends, but when you consider that they were but the most sensational and upstanding figures of the Legendarium who performed feats enhanced by the hand of fate, maybe not. If Elfriends were rare, then it's kind of through this exclusivity that it also provides some value, if not just for the wisdom of the council received, but it also gives merit from us lot following along, because then it's like, oh, that guy's an Elfriend, that must mean something. Because in a way, particularly in the Second Age, remember how during the Nirnaeth Arnoediad you had the men kind of backstab the elves? Well, now in the Second Age, all of your former friends are on an island out in the sea, and now you've been forcefully moved because your old home has been sunk beneath the waves. Now you have to live closer to those men that were ancestors of those that betrayed you and are not like formal friends of yours. But anyway, as Gildor says, the elves have their own labours and their own sorrows, and they are little concerned with the ways of hobbits or of any other creatures upon earth. Despite this, Gildor names Frodo an Elfriend right there because he knew a few words in Quenya. This does not seem good. It seems a bit contradictory to everything else I've already said, quite frankly. And as Frodo hadn't actually formally agreed to the quest for the One Ring yet, nor had to, he hadn't really done anything. It seems wrong to have made him an Elfriend for that. Gildor sent word to other elves abroad though, and to Tom Bombadil, to Aragorn, and then on to Elrond as well, which allowed the riding out of Glorfindel, or, Arwen if you want to look at the films. Therefore, he is very much the unsung hero of the early leg of Frodo's journey. Without him, Frodo would have never have made it. He would have fallen in the Old Forest, he would have fallen at the Barrow Downs, and probably also to the Ringwraiths along the way. So perhaps Tolkien just made him an Elfriend to explain how all of this came to pass. But how Frodo really becomes an Elfriend, or perhaps how he should have been named an Elfriend, is at the Council of Elrond, where he takes up the One Ring, and Elrond there is proclaiming that if you take it freely, I will say that your choice is right. And though all mighty Elfriends of old, Hador and Turin and Beren himself were assembled together, your seat should be among them. And, well, this is quite the welcome. However, why is it only Frodo? For were the Fellowship not all Elfriends? Well, by the definition of what an Elfriend is, then yes. The Edain was so because they joined the Noldor against Morgoth, but I don't think there was a ceremony where each of them was given a sticker to tell them of their position. The Fellowship fit the same description, and yet only Frodo, Aragorn and Gimli are named as such. Similarly, all the chieftains of the Dunedain would have presumably been so too, bearers of the Ring of Barahir, harkening back to the friendship between Finrod Felagund and the father of Beren. that's it. I hope you liked it. Very concise. I didn't go too much into all of the different stories, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Any questions, put them down in the comments, and any suggestions, well, yeah, put them there too. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I'm Gandalf. Good day.